When Masters of the Universe 2026 was released in theaters, sassy pop culture news sites immediately said it was one of the biggest box office bombs of 2026, and the movie hasn't really recovered financially since. Was this flop inevitable, or could this latest iteration of He-Man have been a box office success? Well, today I'm gonna lay down 10 ways Masters of the Universe 2026 could have been more profitable. Number 10. They should have named the movie He-Man. What were they thinking, making a He-Man movie where the word He-Man isn't even in the title? That's like making a Superman movie and then naming it something like Metropolis Adventures without including Superman's name at all. Sure, Smallville might have gone away with it, but that's a TV show. A non-Batman hero can't pull that kind of stunt in the movie leagues. Speaking of movie leagues, my ninth idea for how this new He-Man movie could have made more at the box office is a bit related to Mattel's biggest box office success so far. Number 9. Should have done some kind of cross-promotional deal with Barbie and or the 2018 version of She-Ra. Look, I know that He-Man is a boy toy, and that boy toys and the girl toys aren't supposed to mix. But when it comes to securing the box office lead, you gotta explore all possible avenues. The 2021 Barbie movie is essentially the Mattel Toy Company's greatest box office success. And like it or not, 2018's She-Ra and the Princesses of Power is probably the most watched He-Man related cartoon to come out after the turn of the millennium, if we're not counting that one Slack Circus video. It should also be noted that the only theatrically released He-Man movie to be a straightforward financial success was He-Man and She-Ra, The Secret of the Sword. Now, to be fair, that movie was basically She-Ra's first on-screen appearance, but the point still stands. He-Man does seem to benefit from feminine support at the box office. Or at least, if you're a big toy company doing nostalgic toy movies, you gotta connect him to stuff that's done well at the box office. So maybe they should have done some ads with Barbie and or She-Ra show up and be like, hey, this new He-Man movie might be kinda connected to those things you bought tickets and or a Netflix subscription for a few years ago. I suppose it should be noted that She-Ra did appear in a post-credits scene for Masters of the Universe, but do you really think that's enough to fully maximize her advertising potential? At this stage in the game, Mattel, you gotta do more to connect to your past successes on screen if you want to sell your current nostalgia core movie. That said, maybe you think He-Man ought to stand on his own, and if you think that, well, then maybe, like for many loners, the next logical step is to be kind of a jerk. That brings us to the 8th entry on my list of ways He-Man could have done better at the box office. Number 8. Should have picked fights with other franchises. If Scary Movie and Deadpool's success at the box office is any indication, the people love parodies. Specifically, parodies that are all about doing knowing references to the failures and foibles of showbiz. So, to cash in on that, maybe He-Man's gotta get a little sassy about the current state of 80s nostalgia profiteering. Look, I know fandom culture is pretty prickly these days, to say the least. But to make a He-Man movie in 2026 clearly means you're trying to profit off the supposed prevalence of 80s nostalgia in American culture. And to do that nowadays after so many 80s cash-ins, it might be time to throw a couple punches at the other people driving in your lane. Maybe do a parody scene where Skeletor defeats those Stranger Things kids. Maybe do a scene where Skeletor defeats the Ready Player One guy. If you really want to get nasty, maybe do a scene where Skeletor knocks out the Transformers. He-Man, the character, can't be going around fighting folks like the Stranger Things kids because you want people to think he's noble. But the point stands. Sometimes you gotta poke the bear to get attention. And more attention means a higher chance of a customer at the movie theater. But maybe the garishness of parodies and trash talk is a little much for a delicate project like a 2026 He-Man movie. If that's the case, here's a more family-friendly proposal. Number 7. Should have made it a relatively cheap animated film. Look, I'll get that in the mind of a lot of people and Hollywood execs. A live-action adaptation is the truest form of success. But consider this. Some of the most profitable nostalgia cash grabs this year were clearly animated films, and do you realise how much harder it would have been for those movies to succeed if they were in live action? Let's be real. Most people's emotional attachment to He-Man is rooted primarily either in the very cartoony looking action figures for kids, or the somewhat roughly animated cartoons for kids. He-Man is essentially a kid's cartoon. And when you consider that the Super Mario Galaxy movie made a lot of money by being a cartoon movie for kids, and you consider the fact that the budget for the Super Mario Galaxy movie was, well, significantly lower than the budget for Masters of the Universe, a question inevitably rises. If this He-Man movie is hoping to profit off people's nostalgia for a children's toy line and cartoon, why wasn't the movie itself a children's cartoon? Like, if you look around at what the Mattel company has posted online recently, it's pretty clear that Masters of the Universe was supposed to help sell a bunch of newly made kids' books and web cartoons. So, you know, if this was the long-term financial plan for this movie, just make it simpler for the franchise's marketable identity by making it a kids' cartoon movie. Speaking of emphasizing the Masters of the Universe's core nature as a toy line for kids, here's number 6 on my things to make the He-Man movie more profitable list. Number 6. Should have done viral videos with He-Man toys before the movie came out. Modern franchise film marketing these days, at least on YouTube, seems to mainly focus on actors, even though stuff like He-Man is clearly mostly about the toys. So, to drum up attention for a new He-Man movie, you gotta remind people of how much they love these weird little plastic toys. I know, some people think that in the era of smart devices and the internet, nobody's got the patience or the income anymore for weird little plastic guys. But Labubu's are still in business, and Funko's still in business, and there's plenty of social media channels that have made it big off doing skits with figurines and plushies. So get the social media interns to do something like that with the He-Man action figures, and if those can't catch on online, then, well, maybe He-Man just isn't a very appealing property right now. But if He-Man's not that popular right now, maybe taking advantage of some other people's popularity might do the trick. That brings us to the 5th entry on my list of how the He-Man movie could have sold more tickets. Number 5. Should have done more stunt casting for all those other action figure dudes. I know, I just said earlier that He-Man's more about the action figures, not the actors. And while I stand by that statement, I will make an exception and say that maybe it can be about the actors, if you can properly coordinate actor energy with action figure energy. Remember how the Barbie movie cast well-known guys like Michael Cera and John Cena in side roles that matched the vibe of the doll men they were hired to play? Well, who's to say you can't do that with the various doll men of the Masters of the Universe franchise? Granted, I admit I'm not currently the expert on who counts as a reliable mid-budget personality draw these days, but you know, that's for the casting directors to figure out. The point is, if this movie had enough of a budget to bring in Dolph Lundgren to do a drawn-out nostalgic reference to the first, unsuccessful live-action He-Man movie, maybe they could have juiced up the rest of the cast a little for more cash at the box office. Of course, given that increasing profit's the name of the game here, perhaps my proposals should centre less on extravagant casting and more on saving money, or at least creative energy. Which brings me to proposal number 4 on this list of how a 2026 He-Man movie could have made more cash. Number 4. They should have just done an adaptation of the 2021 Netflix reboot. Obviously, bringing up He-Man usually means bringing up these adult men in their 40s or nostalgic form. Well, as the Super Mario Galaxy movie and the Backrooms movie indicate, young people have nostalgia dollars too, so perhaps it would be best to turn to the last He-Man iteration to be aimed at impressionable children. Netflix's 2021 CGI cartoon, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. I watched it to get a better sense of what exactly He-Man for Kids was like in 2021, and while it's not perfect, it does present a fairly streamlined version of He-Man's world that I don't think would be too difficult to trim down for a He-Man movie. Now, I know a CGI Netflix-only cartoon may seem like a shaky bet for cashing in on He-Man nostalgia, but Gabby's Dollhouse, the movie, which was also based on a Netflix CGI cartoon for kids, made back more than twice its budget at the box office. So He-Man's Netflix CGI exclusive could have also been a more profitable path for a film adaptation. But then again, nostalgia for the 80s hasn't completely died out yet. So for number 3 on this list of profitability improving proposals, let's focus back on an aspect of the He-Man franchise we know has succeeded before with movie audiences. Number 3. I guess movie audiences want Orko. Alright, instead of getting lost in the weed with questions like, what even is an Orko? I'm gonna keep this simple. Every He-Man movie that didn't have Orko as a supporting character flopped at the box office. Whereas the one He-Man movie that did well at the box office did have Orko as a supporting character. Now I know that in Masters of the Universe, Orko does appear in a mid-credit scene, but if he was just in one mid-credit scene, well I think it's safe to say that it's basically like he wasn't in the movie at all. Now I admit I don't like Orko. I'm not saying any of this because I like Orko, but based on the box office record, audiences clearly do, so you have to include him if you want to make money off this sort of thing. Speaking of Orko, here's another key character proposal that could have made this movie more profitable. Number 2. Make Skeletor the hero. This proposal's pretty straightforward. People like Skeletor. They think he's a cool guy. So why not just embrace that? People apparently are also pretty fond of Supervillain Goes Good movies. They've done pretty well at the box office, so have Skeletor do something like that, I guess. Alrighty then. Now for the number 1 proposal I've got that would have made Masters of the Universe a mega money success. Number 1. They should have made a better new theme song. So obviously, Masters of the Universe does have its own original theme music. They got this glam metal type band called The Darkness to make one, and for the Singapore release, they got this guy named Jam Xiao to make one too. And there's a couple Queen-esque soundtrack tunes as well. And when you listen to all this, it becomes clear that the people who made this film were really keen on having an epic guitar riff soundtrack for the take on He-Man. But here's the thing, and I know some people don't want to hear this, but it has to be said, He-Man's not really an epic guitar riffs kind of guy. Just take a moment to acknowledge the 2 main songs people associate with He-Man. The theme from the classic 80s cartoon, and that one Slack Circus video sped up pop remix of 4 Non-Blondes, What's Up? Neither of those are epic guitar riff songs. I know He-Man looks like something that'd been spray painted on the side of a metal guy's van, but when he's out and about, he's ultimately more of a pop and synth guy than a rock guy. In other words, if you're trying to sell He-Man to the public nowadays, you're not really competing with like Queen's soundtrack for Flash Gordon, you're trying to outdo the Slack Circus video. And based on how awkwardly some promo videos for Masters of the Universe tried to incorporate the song from the Slack Circus video, the takeaway here is clear. A new He-Man movie can't rely on making music that sounds like Queen's theme for Highlander. Masters of the Universe had to have created its own catchy pop song to stand a chance at the box office. Because for better or worse, that's just how it is if you want to be a successful modern action figure movie that can sell all sorts of stuff to kids. Anyways, those are my 10 well-studied conclusions as to how the new He-Man movie could have done better in theaters. Hopefully, if Hollywood is open to practicality and innovation, they will consider these conclusions when they inevitably try to make another He-Man movie sometime in the future. If you like these insights into how Masters of the Universe could have been more successful, please like, subscribe and comment, and if you didn't like this video, consider this. You can try to pay me to start making these by purchasing a nice digital cup of my very own patented drink, Wilbur Wednesday's Magic Beverage. YouTube won't let me post the link, so please look it up on itch.io yourself and buy my Magic Beverage today. Thank you.